Hey everybody, welcome back to YAFTV. It is Sunday, January 7th, 2024. I am so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence or hatred or lawlessness of any kind. There are further disclaimers in the description below. And I'm so glad to be back with you. It's odd that I'm here on a Sunday, but I really wanted to kind of be here on a Sunday because we're fighting principalities and powers, right? We're dealing with an enormous amount of evil coming against humanity. And so I just really wanted to do a Sunday broadcast. A lot of you probably won't see it till Monday for all kinds of reasons of how I'm going to be able to get it up online tonight. But I just want you to know that prayer waves are needed more than ever. And I wanted to just put out there that, God wants us to be David. God wants us to slay giants. That is the purpose. It's not to sit here and wait till God does what God does, right, to get rid of evil. It is for us to confront the evil. And that's what I try to do on this broadcast. This is not about chronicling the destruction of humanity. This is about creating warriors for God and warriors for humanity to stop the evil. And so if you want to slay giants like David, if you want to go after Goliath, you have to get in the arena. And so I'm going to ask you to do several action things in this video. We need you now more than ever as they're coming with a massive globalist coup against all sovereignty of nations, all sovereignty of persons in the world. And it's huge. And so, it's bad news to start with, but it's true. And so thank you so much for supporting the channel. I thank you so much for everybody who does support the channel. I kind of need you now more than ever if I'm going to get, more superpowered into 2024. And so, okay, let's jump in. We're going to cover a few interesting things first and then get into the meat. So I'm going to start, I think, a little bit of good news because it was J6 yesterday. And of course, it's the third anniversary of the Fedsurrection, right? And so we've got all the information about the feds involved with J6 coming out harder and harder. Big heavy lifting going on by certain representatives. But one thing that did break over the weekend is we have Tom Fitton out of Judicial Watch. Amazing operation there that Tom Fitton does with Judicial Watch. He has now sued the U.S. government for a wrongful death suit against Ashley Babbitt, who was murdered at the U.S. Capitol by Lieutenant Byrd. And Byrd will be named in this suit, and that is a huge thing. Very important, heavy lifting there, because we have to go after the people that caused this Fedsurrection. We have, of course, also go to Julie Kelly's Substack. I think I'll link it below, but it's something like, I don't know. I can't remember Julie Kelly's Substack, but I do have it below and I will link it so you can get to it. She does so much for the J6ers. And just, Christmas came and went and people donated, but the people that are political prisoners of J6 still need your help. And you can go to sponsorj6.com, sponsorj6.com, and donate. And Julie Kelly has reported over the weekend that one of the biggest things going on with J6 is that there is going before the Supreme Court, SCOTUS of the United States. We've got the question about 1512C2, which is this regulation about disruption of of an official public proceeding that so many J6ers got convicted of or charged with, 300 plus, okay, that this could get thrown out for basically not being real. And this is a huge thing. This is if this gets thrown out, this disruption of an official public proceeding, it will really cause a massive wave in the judiciary for resignations, for all of it, for this forcing of a false charge against these people. So those are two really good things happening here the day after J6, the anniversary. And so I'll leave that there. And so going on from there, a couple of little tidbits before we get into the meat. The meat is really about getting back to the National Asset Corporation push by the SEC and the New York Stock Exchange. We're going to get into that again, get more deep into it, understand what it has to do with ethanol, what it has to do with carbon capture, and why all of the land use of carbon capture, ethanol production, meaning massive GMO corn production, wind farms, solar farms, will all be part of these NACs, so they can use the land, okay, but everybody else can't. Everybody who wants to drill for oil, everybody who wants to fish on their own property, you can compare it from, gold bars down to dimes. It's the same situation for everybody. They want to just take over the entire global production of what they deem is going to be the next fuel, being ethanol for clean jet energy and all this crap. We'll get into that, but let's go back here to what I wanted to cover a little bit, just a couple tidbits. Interesting whispers about King Charles possibly stepping down. We know he's full bore crazy. He giant crazy, descendant of Vlad Dracul. Literally, Count Dracula, spending half his year there in Transylvania in the castle of Vlad Dracul, which he inherited and bought, and blood-drinking King Charles. So, entertainment purposes only there. But basically, what's come out through Epstein papers, all of this, there's wars going on with the factions of the globalists who want to own more. They're greedy. They're so greedy. They're greedy against each other. It's not just like one globalist regime, okay, coming after all of us. They're fighting. And what's coming out in the Epstein stuff has a lot to do with Prince Andrew's weapons trafficking, his connection and King Charles' connection with Adnan Khashoggi, all of this to do with George H.W. Bush way back in the day. We're dealing with massive arms trafficking that goes back to Iran-Contra and billions in cash. We get King Charles just last year, I've reported on this channel, where he was delivering briefcases of several $1 billion to Saudi princes. Okay, and this has to do with, of course, for arms to be trafficked, and the trafficking we know is crazy at this point. It's Ukraine. It is Victor Bout, it is everybody, but it's also King Charles. And so there's this strange whisper that he might abdicate and bring Prince William in to be king. They want a fresh new face. They want the monarchy to survive the vile, gross thing that is King Charles, Prince of Wales, who, of course, his connections to whether it is, so much massive pedophilia, so much stuff around, people jumping out of windows of Windsor Castle, young men, all of his connections to all the pedophiles are getting big, and so they're saying this could be a step down. So that's interesting. And then I'll just bring this up briefly, but, on New Year's Day, I meant to say this in my last video, we had this strange thing go on down in Miami at a major shopping center not that far from Miami-Dade Airport, where there was a very strange occurrence that happened where basically there was these shadow beings, okay, from 7 to 10 feet tall. I think this was an FF, like they were testing something there at the marketplace there, major shopping area, like fancy shopping. Everybody goes there to buy all their goods. And what happened is they had 50 plus police cars, possibly many more than that, 50 police cars coming, sirens on, black helicopters in the air. They shut down the airspace. They grounded flights at Miami-Dade. They did everything. They shut down power to like 64,000 homes. Okay, a massive shutdown over something that went on there. And what people were reporting was that people were screaming and running in hordes because what they were seeing looked to be like demons, like 7 to 10 foot tall demons that were walking and menacing and coming for the people. And I believe this was it was a proof of concept. This was just showing what they can do with the with the technologies that they have to make these apparitions happen, these holograms. And yeah, could it have been real demons? Could it have been, the interdimensional portal? Possibly, but most likely it has to do with them testing a system that they intend to roll out. So that happened in Miami on New Year's Day, and I haven't seen much about it, so I wanted to just mention it. But the big deal that is like our reality of sovereign citizens of the United States of America and all Western countries, but everywhere in the world, is that we have a situation where the SEC is being forcing through, the Securities Exchange Commission is forcing through something from the New York Stock Exchange about natural asset companies. And I talked about that in my last video. But we have to keep talking about it because we only have 10 days now to comment and protest, get on the horn to your representatives, 202-225-3121 for the House, 224-3121 for the Senate. Get the Bill Blasters app, billblastersapp.org. But also especially for this, the National Asset Company protest, go to sovereigntycoalition.org. They have everything set up for you there. And go to what is americanstewards.us, americanstewards.us, where you can read all of their briefings plus the deep dives on what the natural asset company designation will mean and what it means. This is what it means. What it means is that they're going to designate basically that land can be used for ethanol, wind farms, solar farms, and that will all be fine. That'll be fine. And those will be included in natural asset companies. Okay, it's not just the land fallow, like I said in my last video. And it's not just, to leverage the debt in the U.S., which is huge, to keep leveraging it through bringing in foreign powers to buy our land and control it. Okay, and these natural asset companies, foreign-based companies owning, the ethanol farms, all of it. No. It's also to then let those go out of, that they will slip out of those designations. And then all the mineral rights, the oil rights, everything underneath those lands will become owned and operated and utilized and exploited by those same foreign powers. And so that's what I want to get into here now at the moment. And ethanol is really huge in that. So let's drop into that. It's actually really disgusting. I'm going to start with the NACs. I'm going to start with the natural asset companies and what americanstewards.us has laid out. I need you to literally act on this. You need to provide comments, to the SEC. We have 10 days left, 9 days if you're seeing this on Monday, where we need comments about this immediately. And we need you to contact your senators and your congressmen. There's crickets, nothing about this is coming out of Congress. We're hearing nothing. And when I hear Trump going to Iowa and saying, I love ethanol, I support ethanol, oh, all you ethanol farmers, we're here for you. We got you $2 billion out of China and all this. No. This is the end game of this is like Interstellar. Remember the movie Interstellar, where you have it's all wind and ethanol corn and nothing's growing and the atmosphere has collapsed and they have to go on the spaceship to create the Elysium and all this baloney, unless what's his face McConaughey can, travel back in time to that one point with his daughter. I mean, it's baloney. But what I'm saying is that's the plan, is to have a planet that is terraformed. We don't know why yet. We don't know the outcome of what they're doing, except that it's demonic and anti-human. But let's get into what the NACs mean further, and then we'll get into the ethanol aspect of it and what's going on in Iowa and the Midwest to control this with billionaires there. And so let's get into it. So AmericanStewards.us put out really great bullet points about this, plus a deep dive. I'm going to link it below. I need you to read it. I need you to act. I need you to make comments. And please share this video. Please share this video and make sure that other people are going to be active about this as well. So we have 10 days to submit comments. The New York Stock Exchange, plus the Intrinsic Exchange Group. Intrinsic Exchange Group. So intrinsic means intrinsic value in natural processes. That's their deal. And they have teamed up to get the SEC to try to push this natural asset company addition to the New York Stock Exchange. And natural asset companies are non-productive. They have nothing to do with humans producing goods, energy, or services. It is all about tagging, monetizing, tokenizing, valuing the natural processes of the earth in a conservation way. They say that meaning, oh, we're going to save the rivers, we're going to make everything pristine, it's so lovely. But no, it gets into no, we can wind farm, we can solar farm, we can literally produce billions of acres of ethanol, GMO corn. That's the lie. That's the big unsaid thing. And this isn't about conservation and putting a ridiculous already price and commodity on conserving and valuing photosynthesis, valuing growth of forests, all this. It's so crazy because they're literally going to slaughter millions of acres in Brazil, in the Amazon, to create ethanol, okay, under this same NAC. So the natural asset companies are monetizing the air that we breathe, literally, because air is included in this stuff that these natural asset companies can control. And as if we are not controlled enough with the giant dumping of the geoengineering and the constant assault on us by the air, the latest around New Year's, where everybody's getting sick, everybody's dealing with major achiness, flu-like symptoms, all of this. Well, that's also the next thing, and I'll get into that. We have a bunch of things to talk about. So the NACs, the natural asset companies, are publicly traded global corporations that hold rights to manage productivity, meaning the natural processes and ecological benefit gains of natural assets. Okay, so forests, marine life, areas of the oceans where there is where they can basically censor. They're putting sensors, smart sensors, into everything, and whatever they can censor and surveil can be part of a natural asset company. Rivers, lakes, farmland especially. Okay, and so it's going to shut down the commercial fishermen. It's going to shut down the forestry. It's going to cut down of course, any oil or natural gas drilling. That's the plan, and it is a total steal of the sovereignty, because this is foreign national companies, even sovereign funds of China or anybody, Saudis, UAE, all the biggies, Russia. It could be anybody. The EU, the World Economic Forum, billionaires. They can, through their hedge funds, come and buy our United States lands, including our national parks, which I'll get into. So values are assigned to nature's processes. Again, totally different than traditional human production-based accounting principles. Absolutely the opposite, the reverse of it. Okay, it's a reversal. And they're using the climate crap to do this, saying, we can now monetize, create an entire economy on conservation rather than production. And they absolutely 100% value conservation over not only human survivability, but especially human thriving. Okay, human productivity moving forward, progress. Okay, and so the global corporations, they initially profit from sequestering natural processes created by climate crisis policies. So this is what they do. They profit from stealing the resources under these climate crisis policies coming out of things like COP28 that I've been covering very much in the last couple months. And so then if they violate the natural asset corporation qualifications down the road, like say 5-10 years from now or 3-4 years from now, if they violate it by doing something that isn't within the realm of acceptability, those same corporations, foreign corporations, globalist, cartel, climate criminals, will still own the land and control the land, and then they can absolutely exploit and use the same assets, the same resources, the minerals, the gas, the oil that they own through having obtained the land through this. And it is a massive, massive financial scam that's going on right now to switch wealth over from corporations to corporations to make a whole different way of making money, to then come back and make more money on everything that they've already stopped as the processes, as they watch the demolition of the United States supply chain go on in all Western countries, stop the supply chain of energy, of goods and services, of food. They literally say in their documents that feeding people comes second to having this conservation of the environment, okay, which is baloney, 100%. Okay, so let's get into what their points are, their key points as laid out by AmericanStewards.us. Their key points, their proposed rules, okay, to the SEC by the New York Stock Exchange and Intrinsic Exchange Group, and I'll get more into Intrinsic in subsequent videos and what they're about. So one is to authorize federal lands, including national parks, to be enrolled into national asset companies to be owned foreignly. This is the SEC is trying to make a new category of non-productive ownership of land, eco conservation, eco services, eco management, to not produce. First time in history ever. A whole new plan of economy, exactly the World Economic Forum, exactly what they've been telling us is coming. Well, they're pushing it through right now. And so the second point is it gives management authority to the national asset corporations and companies over ecosystems. So they get to control ecosystems, our rivers, our oceans, our lakes, our properties, because our private property gets huge in here, and I'm going to get into that in a second. The third key point is that the Biden administration is set to enroll all federal lands, including national parks and BLM, Bureau of Land Management lands, into the National Asset Corporation. So we've always been able to use BLM lands. They've been free lands where Americans can go and enjoy federal land and be on there. And they also have corporations that have been part of actually working the land as well. And some of that's been really squirrely. We have tons of BLM land used for human trafficking. It's all, and so it's no wonder that it's included here. But I, for one, have loved enjoying BLM land, Bureau of Land Management land. And it's why we have, the treasurer out of Utah, Marlo, what's his last name? I can't remember at the moment, but I'll get back to you on that. I talked about it in my last video. Now I'm obsessed, so I must find him. But yeah, Marlo, he's been doing the heavy lifting with all of the land, all of stopping the NACs, and so I have to tell you his name right now. Marlo Oaks, the treasurer of Utah. And I put links to him in the last video. I'll do it again here. He's the one who's been exposing what is this going on with the NACs, the natural asset corporations, companies of the SEC, putting in a whole new category into the New York Stock Exchange to trade on our sovereign lands to be not used and to be managed by foreign national hedge funds. And so, okay, we get into number 4. Foreign sovereign national funds are invited to invest, meaning that the sovereign funds of nations that are aggressors, or people that countries that are not friends of the United States, can absolutely put their sovereign funds into this. And so, it can be China, it can be the Saudis, anybody, right? It can be all of them, and China especially. And so, I look at, I've been trying to cover, these different companies like Gov't in Michigan that the people have fought to get the EV plant stopped outside of a military base in northern Michigan, okay, to do with Gov't doing EV parts. Well, there's another one, C Nano, that I've been talking about in my last video as well, out of Kansas City, like 35 miles from Leavenworth, right? And another central National Guard base. The National Guard base was in Michigan, but it was the B-15 or B-2, I don't know. Anyway, another Air Force base there in Kansas City where C Nano is setting up. And again, we need to understand, under this NAC situation, the national asset corporations, they, as long as they are included in climate okay, they can develop it however they want, as long as it's considered climate okay. All right, so things like C Nano USA, which is comes out of Jiangsu C Nano Technology Company Limited, out of the British Virgin Islands. They call it EV vehicle components production. But what this company does, Jiangsu C Nano Technology, is mostly they produce powdered graphene, right? And where have we seen graphene recently? Oh, in the shots. Right? Graphene. And graphene is, of course, in all major progressive technologies that have to do with lightweight, kind of secret space program stuff, but more and more what's coming to the fore of everything. And so they want to do massive amounts of manufacturing powdered graphene out of Jiangsu C Nano Technology Company Limited. And that could be considered literally an NAC, a natural asset corporation, right? This is where it gets really squirrely, and we're going to get into ethanol here in a second. And that, I think, is almost even more disgusting because it takes up so much land. They're going to kill the rainforest in Brazil now that Lula is back in after his massive car wash. Look at the Pandora Papers, right? The car wash, money laundering of Lula in Brazil, and criminalizing Bolsonaro, almost killed him. And now Lula is putting through this massive ethanol plan down there in Brazil, where they're going to slaughter the rainforests, okay, the lungs of the earth. They're going to slaughter that, like they're slaughtering our lungs, like they're killing our respiratory, like they're killing our oxygen. The whole plan is to kill the oxygen. But down in Brazil, they're going to try to produce about 4 billion bushels of corn, okay, per year, 4 billion bushels of corn for ethanol, okay, and slaughter the Amazon. And so what it would take to actually offset their carbon footprint, as they call it, would be 51 years, okay, of carbon capture. And believe me, carbon capture is very much included in the national asset corporations, NACs that the SEC is trying to push through. You need to comment and tell them you will not allow our lands here in America to be taken over by the SEC and the New York Stock Exchange for foreign investors to own land and manage our land here in the United States based on conservation. It's a baloney. It's a complete lie. It is a absolute problem reaction solution, but it's mostly just a giant lie, because they're going to come in with the ethanol, with the wind farms, with the solar farms, and say that that's okay under these natural asset corporation foreign ownership of sovereign U.S. soil. And so getting on from there, continuing on with this key points still out of the report that is released by the SEC, is you get exclusive rights, okay? Oh, no, before we get there, land trusts, okay, will enroll conservation easements through privately owned property into national asset corporations without landowners' knowledge permission. This is really important. So a lot of farmers might have a natural, there might be a natural land connected to them, a conservation area, or they want one because it's a tax break. Now this gets into telling the farmers, because they have that easement and it's connected to a national asset company, that what they can and can't do on their property. And that goes for small property owners too, like in small states. Look at Massachusetts, or in New England, where there's a lot of natural conservancy land, where you can have those easements still entered into this and affect your property rights. And property rights are central, and it's why county activism is so important. You need to be your county commissioner. You need to be your county land manager, land commissioner. You need to be on your county board. It is vital right now. And this is the David slaying Goliath. This is the time to get in the arena and slay giants. This is the time, 2024. This is the make or break year. So let's do it. And so the number 6 on these key points is exclusive rights to natural processes. So these companies that come in as natural asset companies, if the SEC gets to push this through, depending on our activism, depending on your participation, is that exclusive rights to natural processes like photosynthesis, okay, or the growth of trees, or the amount of fish in the sea, the fish in the river, will be monetized, tokenized, and loaded with surveillance sensors. So the smart dust system, the smart sensor system, the Internet of Nature, the Internet of Earth. Okay, we have the Internet of Bodies with us, with all of our nano. They've already been spraying it everywhere, everybody. But now they're going to put it online as a commodity, a commodity that can be surveilled, monetized, and read and seen in real time through the 5G system, 6G, 7G, 10G, that they can monitor everything going on in these properties, meaning they can monitor anybody trying to enter them, use them, everything. Okay, and so it's very important to understand the Internet of Earth, and so and these will get assigned and be patented, and it will all be owned. The Earth will be owned. These processes will be owned by these corporations, these multinational globalist climate cartel, climate criminals, right? The climate cartel, and so. 7 will say the protection of resources, okay? This will be made law, the protection of resources, to create the regions, to create the non-human habitation zones, to create the human habitation zones, to get people out of nature, get them off of the lands. And of course, they'll have massive solar farms, wind farms, and they will have massive ethanol farms. The GMO corn, totally toxic, totally just a plague on the earth, right? And attacking everything that's around it. So the protection of resources will be for the billionaires' profits, of course, and it'll be prioritized. Literally, they say it that the protection of resources will be prioritized over human survival or human growing food. food for humans, okay? That the resources will be, the profits of the resources will be prioritized over human food production. So we need immediate congressional oversight. 202-225-3121. You need to call Mike Johnson. You need to call all your representatives. You need to say, hey, we need to stop the SEC immediately. And you need to do that first thing tomorrow morning, Monday morning on January 8th. So the Intrinsic Exchange Group, okay, has this to say, and Intrinsic I'll get more deeply into this week, but they say that the national asset company economy will be worth $5,000 trillion, $5,000 trillion, versus the human production economy, meaning creating things, creating energy, advancing civilization, is only worth $105 trillion. Bad. That's bad for the trillionaires who want more and more and more. They're hungry ghosts. They can't stand it. And we don't know, it seems like the demon of, the interdimensional, hungry ghost of Satan is just working through these people. It's never enough. They don't see us as humans. They don't have empathy, compassion, relatability. They're on such a different realm of reality and so captured by, captured massively through intergenerational ritual abuse and mind control, to believe the things they believe. But there is a massive lack of relatability to humanity and the desire to dominate, control, kill, and genocide. And we're seeing those genocide numbers increase and increase and increase, and the threats coming for the next pandemic. And so basically, as they steal the earth and the resources, monetizing it and profiting on it to not produce, creating that scam. We thought fiat currency was a scam. We thought the Federal Reserve was a scam, or, the Social Security tagging IDs on everybody was a scam. Forget CBDCs, that's horrifying. But to create money, a whole new economic system through the SEC, natural asset companies, which we must resist and protest. You go to sovereigntycoalition.org, go to American stewards.us, learn how to do it right now. That they're monetizing a whole new economy on not producing. And that's going to be you as well. Humans, they don't want you to produce. They don't want you really to work except as slaves in a metaverse, creating tokens, okay? And soon they will want you as batteries. They will want your human energy, which they already feed off of massively, as we know, but they will want it just as Bill Gates has promised with his 060606 patent about turning human energy into tokenized CBDCs. They will want your energy, and they won't want it, they will demand it. And it's coming very, very soon. And if this passes, where we can have an international cabal, criminal climate cartel Babylon, come and steal our lands, then then of course the next thing is to steal our very energy out of our cells, which they're already doing, as we know, from the shots, from the 5G, the entrainment, the attacks on us, all of it. So the reality is that the national asset corporations initially will be specifically not allowed to engage in unsustainable extractive activities, but once they violate that, they still own the land. And so then they own the land and then can go and do all those activities of extracting the minerals, extracting the oil, the gas, etc. And so they have three categories of lands, and one is called natural strictly, meaning a non-human habitation zone, not allowed, total policing, completely stop humans from going there. And I think they'll do that a lot with the national parks. Once they sell those off, that will be huge. And then there'll be the working lands, okay, very strict mostly on the growth of the resources there. So grow the forests. It's all baloney. It's all for a short period of time. This is all window dressing. It's all a beard, okay, for what comes later when they steal and strip everything. But they'll, in the meantime, fill it all with nanosensors, tech, AI, total surveillance to basically form what they're pushing for, which is the human habitation zones, creating the 10 regions of the U.S., which will shrink and shrink to become fewer regions, the regions of the world, which will become, of course, eventually the 10 kingdoms. But then they have the hybrid lands, okay, which is ecotourism and carbon credit sales, right? And so the hybrid lands will be like, oh, it's like you're going on a safari in Africa. Oh, come and see your natural, your national park, pay out the wazoo, right? We've already seen since COVID this crazy thing where you had that Clinton-connected legal firm. Oh, God, I hadn't meant to talk about this tonight, but I will talk about it again. I've talked about it in the past. They took over the national parks. Can't bring it to mind. I will definitely talk about it next video because it just gets my goat. It pisses me off so hard. This literal legal firm took over our national parks and gets like a massive percentage of every when you have to go Camp America, Reserve America, whatever it's called. If you want to go now, you can't walk into most sites, state parks, national parks. You can't walk in. You have to have an already done online reservation. Okay. And the reason is, they want to say, oh, COVID and all this. No, the reason is because these dirtbags connected to Hillary Clinton, for entertainment purposes only, get a shit ton of money for every goddamn reservation, okay? This whole thing of doing it online isn't to protect anybody from blah, blah, blah of the pandemic. No, it's because they make a shit ton of money on every reservation done online in advance. That's why they're doing it. And of course, because they want to know who's there. They want full control and surveillance of everything going on. And so the hybrid lands and ecotourism, yeah. And then the carbon credit sales. So this gets into hybrid lands and the carbon credit sales. So this is where we get, what's happening with ethanol and wind farms and solar farms. These are going to be allowed as natural asset companies, okay? So the drilling, okay, it's not, as soon as they violate it, it'll become drill baby drill and it'll become dig baby dig. But until then, it will be wind farms that don't work, solar farms that don't work, and it will be massively ethanol. And that gets us into something I want to mention here. There's so much more still to say about that. I might get into it next time because there's so much more to say. It's endless, but I'm already at 43 minutes. But I want to mention just a bit more about Brazil because Brazil, under Lula, is planning to literally slaughter about, a massive amount of the rainforest to put in enough to get 4 billion bushels of corn per year. Now understand, one fill-up of an SUV with ethanol could feed a person for an entire year of corn, right? And nobody wants to eat that GMO corn because it's literally like a factory for glyphosate in your body and destroys your gut for entertainment purposes only, destroys your immune system. It's disgusting. And when I first learned about Terminator seeds way back, like 35 years ago, I was so horrified that it really, got me going. It really pushed me into deeper into what is the whole situation with the attempt to take over nature's God's processes of nature by these biotech corporations. And so when we get this ethanol situation, we look in Iowa. We had Steve King recently endorse Vivek Ramaswamy. And he said he endorsed Vivek Ramaswamy because he had been approaching Trump for months and months and months saying, hey, we're having this massive carbon capture pipeline trying to do eminent domain through Iowa, Illinois, multiple states, Oklahoma, all of it, trying to say they're going to sequester carbon, right? And it's the same people who are pushing the pipeline are the people who own the mega ethanol farms, right? In Iowa, people like Bruce Rastetter, they call him the Soros of the Midwest, who owns what is called Summit Carbon Solutions at the same time as he owns Summit Ag Group, okay? So we've got the Summit, right? And the Summit is about growing tons of GMO corn for ethanol that they think they're going to create some new green jet fuel, right? And that basically he's pushing all the money through. And Steve King was a former representative who was pushed out for being white supremacist because he believed in building the wall. He built a whole design that was largely followed by the Trump team, back when Trump was actually sitting in the Oval Office. And then it was like, oh, he's anti-immigrant, he's awful, Steve King. And they tried to make him as a giant racist. But really, what he was saying, hey, the immigration is getting really bad. We need to stop what's happening at the border. We have a major problem of what's coming. And he's been absolutely 100% accurate. But now he has endorsed Vivek Ramaswamy because Ramaswamy came down there to Iowa, or went, down, up, wherever. He went to Iowa, and what he did was give a huge, audience to what's going on with this carbon capture pipeline debacle, where they're using eminent domain to try to steal people's private land. And that's the thing about the easements, okay? So if you have an NAC, all right, that is, say, growing tons of ethanol, and then your property abuts it, right? They can say, oh, we have this easement there, and they're going to use it for eminent domain to steal people's private property and also control what you do on that property. But the stealing of the property is massive to create these carbon capture pipelines. Carbon capture, where does it all end up? Where does all that carbon go? What are they going to do with it? We need it. We need our forests. We need to green the planet. We love the carbon. We love it, right? We know the massive elites want it for their giant bunkers. Pipe it in and grow your veggies underground, for a decade, while whatever you're planning for us up here, the zombie apocalypse goes on. We know that that's all going on, and Bruce Rastetter is pushing this with it's all in one oil. It's the problem, reaction, solution. Oh, the problem is, we got climate, issues. Oh, the reaction is, we must do something about it. Well, guess what? I'll grow the ethanol and I'll also finance the pipeline, right? That is Bruce Rastetter, and we're going to get more into that in coming up this week, because it's really disturbing. They're creating the decimation of the kind of energies that make us free, okay? Whether it's gas to put in your car, they want to make energy that only will work for the types of technology that they are producing, whether it's electric vehicles, whether it is all the smart surveillance, all of it. They're shutting down freedom energy and they're putting in tyranny energy. And so we need to be right on top of it. I need you to go to sovereigntycoalition.org. Contact all your people. It's right there, sovereigntycoalition.org, and go to americanstewards.us and put your comments in to the SEC to say no to natural asset companies being created as a new non-productive, category in the stock exchange to be traded to not produce. All right, so vital. And so I was going to end up with something here to do with that, but I might just end up, because we're at 50 minutes. Although maybe I will. Let me see. No, I might leave it there. I think I will. Yeah, I think I will. You know, folks, we have like a year of a shot, right? We've got to be Davids, right? We've got to go after Goliath. This is our God-given birthright. This is our land. This is humanity's land. These globalist criminals, these hungry ghosts, right? They're like insatiable maniacs trying to attack us. This is the year to stand up full bore. And you can't slay giants if you're not in the arena. You've got to get out there with your, with your slingshot and your rock, and you've got to give it a go. You know, whether that's precinctstrategy.com, become one of the 2,000 committee members still needed, whether it is going up in your school boards, your county commissions, your land commissioner position, fighting globalist reaches in there, which is going on hugely with this NAC stuff, to become a county clerk, to become your land commissioner for your county, get on the county board. Those are all massive. And that is slaying giants, because you are literally fighting something that is so huge over here in your small area, like David, right? And so be part of the winning team, God's full body of armor protecting you. We need everybody in this fight. So I'm hoping you will do that. I'm going to link everything below. You're going to be able to absolutely do everything you need to do to get active here. And I just want to ask everybody for a prayer wave. We need it right now. And your prayers are part of that slaying giants activity. Massive prayer waves and massive prayers have so much electrical, heart, God, spirit activity. They literally change everything. And so much of what your thoughts focus on, what you are aware of, and what you envision. And I don't want to dissuade anybody from envisioning what you want to see in the future. Because what you want to see, that glorious, place, on the high ups, that humanity free of this cartel Babylon, it's so important to see that and to know what that is going forward, and to put that into your prayers and to constantly think those thoughts, because we live in an electrical, thought-based universe, and God gave us that free will to think our thoughts. And so we have to keep the thoughts on the high and mighty, right? With the solutions in mind, with the moving forward in mind. And so I want to put that out there. There's so much more I wanted to say here. I'll get into the 43,000 monkeys being brought to Texas by the Charles River Labs, and what might go on there in a 12 monkeys scenario. They're coming up with everything. They're not devoid of enough horrors they can present us. But what we are not devoid of is billions of people making prayers to God of good, and the golden rulers, all of us, 1 billion plus golden rulers, that we are exercising that golden rule, and that incredible ability to be the instruments of God is what is going to change this tide. And God is an action word. We are meant to be active. It's not to sit around passively and say, hey, we already got this. God's coming. It's all fine. No. We're supposed to be Davids slaying Goliaths. And so let's do that. You are free. Happy Sunday. Prayers. And if you got something from this video that you think is valuable, please consider supporting the channel. I would love to get more support in 2024, back to old time type support, so that I can do more videos and get more of the news out. We have to fight this natural asset corporation attempted steal. It's coming right at the same time as the new WHO pandemic push, the new WHO pandemic treaty push, the CBDC push, the get everybody offline censored push. It's all happening in a crescendo in the election year. So your participation is required. All right, you are free. I'll see you probably Tuesday.